Hi there, I'm Scott Lowe with ActualTech Media, and I'm here today with Shira Shamban, who is the CEO and co-founder of Solvo. Shira, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Scott. Thank you for having me today.
So you're here participating in our Spotlight series video where we introduce you to our audience. So tell us what Solvo does. What problem are you trying to solve?
Awesome. So, what we're here to solve is the problem of excessive permissions in the cloud infrastructure. What we learned is that software developers, as they want to work faster in the cloud, develop and deploy faster, they very often give excessive permissions to their cloud infrastructure. And the problem is that these permissions don't only live in the dev environment, they make it all the way to production, where they're very, very exploitable, and people from outside of our organization can run crypto mining farms or get access to sensitive data and leak it out. And all of this happens because we want to deliver faster to the cloud. So Solvo, our agenda is to automatically create a least privileged security policy as early as possible on the left side of the software lifecycle.
So when you say the left side, what does that refer to?
On the left side, we have the design part and the developer's side. And on the right side, we have applications running in their production environments with real data, with real users getting access. So many of the products are focused on the right side, trying to find security issues where the application is running live. And unfortunately, resolving security issues in production costs us with lots of time, lots of money. So a better approach would be, instead of detecting security issues, to prevent them as early as possible on the left side.
So essentially keep the genie in the bottle rather than let it go and then try to capture them again later.
That's right.
You know, this is not a new problem, is it? I mean, I was a CIO for a long time, and I remember more than once somebody came into my office and said, I fixed the problem we were having by just giving something domain admin accounts on premises. And it's like, yeah, that's not a fix.
It's working.
But it works now. I mean, magic. It just works. What could go wrong?
Exactly.
But we've carried some of those bad habits through to the cloud, and you're trying to solve for that. And especially when we start thinking about developers, they're not always ops people. So what is the challenge you see with cloud people trying to deal with ops that's created the problem that you're trying to solve?
So what we see is that today developers are not only in charge of writing code and then handing it over to the sysadmin to deploy it in the basement on the machine. So today they have access, they have their own AWS accounts or the team's AWS account, and after writing the code, they want to see that it's working. So they have to spin up an EC2, a Lambda function, a Kubernetes cluster, whatever that is. And in the process of spinning that up, they have to grant it with security permissions. Now, the developers don't have the time to think and design and craft a very, very granular and specific security policy. So sometimes they take an AWS managed policy, and sometimes they have policies that were pre-created for them to reuse. But even when they reuse a policy, obviously, it's not specific and granular for this current application. So they use whatever comes handy and spin up the new cloud asset, deploy the code, making sure that it's working, not checking for the security permissions they just granted. We're lucky if they did a security code review. And then they forget about it, right? They go to the next ticket, to the next issue, to the next feature. But they just deployed an application that has vulnerable infrastructure, and that's very exploitable. And even in the pre-production environments, sometimes we use sensitive data and forget about it. It happened to a very large security company about 2 years ago, when in the staging environment they had real data of real users that was leaked, just because they thought that since it's a staging environment, we don't have to secure it as much as we secure the production. So this is why we see these problems happening. And today, even though we have very good security products to test our code, we still don't have good security products to test our infrastructure security throughout the entire CI/CD process. So we try to look for these issues in production, and that's too late.
So you're not doing static code review, but how are you determining what level of permissions, rights, whatever you want to call it, security that an application actually needs in order to be able to operate?
That's very simple. What we do is create a unique profile for every cloud asset. We do a runtime analysis. We see the application running in every pre-production environment all the way to production. That helps us to create a very, very accurate profile. And based on that profile, where we see, on the one hand, the behavior of the application, and on the other hand, what infrastructure exactly are you using? Because it makes a lot of difference from the security perspective if you're using a Lambda function or if you're using a Kubernetes cluster. So taking these two pieces of information together enables us to create a very granular security permission for that specific cloud asset. And this is something that we do repeatedly. It is ongoing. So, today in the cloud, there are organizations who deploy, once a day, once an hour. So we understand that a security policy is as dynamic as your application. If you deploy once a day, it means that we have to check and see if it is necessary to update your security policy with every deployment. So we do it continuously.
Is it automatic, or do you make a recommendation that the user then has to go and deploy?
Every organization can choose the right mode for them. The creation of the policy is obviously being done automatically. And then you can decide if you want us to notify you once the recommendation is ready for review. You can also choose a fully automated mode where we create a new policy, update it, and notify you once a day or after every deployment what changes did we make to your infrastructure.
So understanding that people are kind of moving to this multi-cloud era, how do you deal with applications that span clouds?
What we see today is that even though many organizations are talking about multi-cloud strategy, I think that there aren't that many applications that are fully multi-cloud. I see many organizations that, for example, run their infrastructure with one major vendor, but then they really like the offerings for the big data and machine learning with another cloud vendor. So this is their multi-cloud strategy. They only outsource or they only do the multi-cloud with the other vendor. I think that this is the right way to go. You shouldn't put all the eggs in one basket. It's the right way to go. Today, Solvo is supporting AWS, but we are going to support Azure later this year and GCP after that, because the market is going that way, and I cannot have people, joining our platform telling them, listen, we only support one vendor, because I know that most likely they have other workloads with other vendors, and they're looking for an end-to-end solution that will support all the workloads that they have.
So if people want to kind of get started, and you have an offering that can help people kind of get their foot in the door to see what Solvo can do. Can you tell us a little bit about the Security Genie report?
Yes, absolutely. So one thing that I constantly hear from security practitioners is that they find it hard to report or to send a message to their superiors, to their board members. What exactly is our security posture and security risks in the cloud today? So we've created a simple report that anyone can use. It is self-served through our website. It's called Security Genie. And the Genie is going to tell you the security posture and security risks that you have today in your identity and access management. It is going to let you know if you're using admin permissions, if you're using full access permissions, if you granted any third parties access to your account and forgot to remove it, that they were never used, or you haven't used them for a very long time, or it's just a vendor you don't want to work with anymore. So people they know that this information is accessible to them, but they just don't bother going and checking that out. So Security Genie gives you all that information in one place, including a security score, so you can see that over time you're getting better at what you do. Of course, if you want to resolve those issues, you have the full list of the findings, so you can go and resolve them yourself. If you want to do it automatically, you can use the Solvo freemium version, and help. We will help you to resolve those issues automatically.
Shira, thank you so much for your time. It's always just interesting to hear how the sheer variety of ways that companies like yours are helping make things easier for people who sometimes struggle with some of the basic things that they really need to know, but that are hard. So it's nice to hear that you're solving a real world problem, and especially one that helps with security, which is obviously a growing and more serious problem than ever before. So I really appreciate hearing about all of this.
Thank you very much, Scott.
And to our audience, if you want to learn more about Solvo, please visit solvo.cloud. And if you'd like to watch more Spotlight Series videos, please visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ActualTech Media. And again, as always, thank you for watching this Spotlight Series video.